Hi, welcome to Mrs. Park's Algebra 1 class. We are moving on to lesson 4 in chapter 4, parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, so in this section I'm going to learn about parallel lines and perpendicular lines. As you can see here in the picture, there's a lot of parallel lines and a lot of perpendicular lines. So what does it mean to be parallel? Parallel lines are lines that are going towards the same direction, like these two lines here, but they will never meet. They will never intersect. Okay. Perpendicular lines are lines that are formed with 90-degree angles, as you can see here. Alright. And excuse my voice, but I'm just recovering from a cold, so I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little muffled. Alright, parallel lines. Lines in the same plane that do not intersect are called parallel lines. So they're going towards the same direction and they'll never meet. These are called parallel lines. When it comes to parallel lines, they have the exact same slope. So if they give you a set of a point and an equation, and they want you to write an equation in point-intercept form. Does everybody remember what point-intercept form is? Okay, and a real quick review here. Oops. Okay, point-intercept form is when you have one point and you have a slope. Sorry, slope-intercept form. Okay, so when you have a point and you write as y. Oops, let me get my pen out here. Okay, now let's write it. Okay, when you have y minus y1 equals m, your slope, times x minus x1, where x1 and y1 are your points. Okay, so here they're telling you the point is -3 and 5. That means -3 is the x and 5 is the y1. Okay, so instead of that, I'm going to just rewrite y minus your y1 here is 5. So y minus 5 equals, and your slope here, they're telling you it's parallel. Parallel means that they have the same slope. So same slope as this here, and the slope is 2. So that means it's going to have the exact same slope, 2, as the slope if it's parallel. X minus, and your x1 is right here, -3. So it's a minus -3. I'm going to rewrite this by simplifying. By using the distributive property. Remember, when you do distributive property, you distribute everything inside. Minus a negative here will actually make it into a minus. A negative will be a plus sign here. Okay, so now we have 2x plus 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, make sure that looks like a 5 and not a b. Okay, so they want you to put this in a slope-intercept form. That means y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to add 5 to each side here to get rid of that -5, because -5 plus 5 cancels each other out. And now you have your y comes down, -5 plus 5 was canceled out. You have your equal sign that comes down. You have your 2x. And now you have 6 plus 5, which is 11. So I'm going to just put plus 11. And there's your equation. Okay. Next. Now we're going to talk about perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines is when you have two lines that intersect at a 90-degree angle. So you see here, this line and this line, it's like a cross. It has 90 degrees. That means they're perpendicular. If two lines are perpendicular, then the slope of the lines are opposite reciprocals. What does opposite reciprocals mean? If a slope has a line of 4, the slope of the line that's perpendicular is -1/4. Let's go over that real quick. I want to make sure that you know exactly what that means. Opposite reciprocals. The opposite reciprocal of A over B is -B/A. Their product is -1. So whenever you have a product of -1, that's when the two slopes are reciprocal. So for example, if you have -1/2, the reciprocal of this will be change the sign to positive, and I like to just say flip upside down, so now you have 2/1, which is actually 2. If you have 2/3, the reciprocal is, that's a positive, so you need to make it a negative, flip it upside down, 3/2. If you have, let's say, -5/7, the reciprocal will be, change it to positive, flip it upside down, 7/5. Okay, so when you multiply these numbers, they all equal -1. As you can see, so those are called opposite reciprocals. So when you have two perpendicular lines, if one slope is this, the other slope is that. Okay. All right. Alright, so here you have a question asking, determine whether the graphs y equals 5, x equals 3, and y equals -2x plus 1 are parallel or perpendicular. Okay, so here are your graphs. The only thing we see here are y equals 5 and x equals 3 being perpendicular. That has a nice 90-degree angle. But everything else, it doesn't look anything to have any relevance. Okay, so they're not, none of them are parallel. It's just those two lines are perpendicular. Okay. Alright, so if you have a point and they're giving you a graph or equation and they're asking you to find a perpendicular equation. Okay, this takes a few more steps. Alright, let's freeze that right there. Okay, so they want you to find an equation in slope-intercept form for a line that passes through -4, 6 and is perpendicular to the graph 2x plus 3y equals 12. Okay, so here 2x plus 3y equals 12. You want that you want to find a slope there. So what they did was they made it into y equals mx plus b. Okay, and we can easily do that by moving some numbers around or some variables around, some terms. So you have 2x here. You want to put it onto the right side, so they took away 2x on each side. They left 3y here. Now you want to get rid of the 3 by dividing by 3 on each side, and you have your slope-intercept form. From here, what they extracted was the slope is -2/3. Now, if you have a slope that's -2/3, remember, -2/3, the reciprocal is going to be negative goes into positive, and now you're going to flip it upside down, so you have 3/2. So now you have a point that's going through -4 and 6, and a slope of 3/2. So you can just put it in your point slope form. You have your -6 and your -4 and your 3/2 as your slope, and you're just doing your distributive property, and you're just making it look nice into y equals mx plus b form. Okay. Alright. Last, let's go over our parallel lines and perpendicular lines. Okay, again, parallel lines are two non-vertical lines that are parallel if they have the same slope. Perpendicular, two non-vertical lines are perpendicular if the product of their slope is -1. The symbols here, you have two lines that are going up and down. That's parallel. So how do you read this? Line AB is parallel to line CD. Perpendicular sign, it gives you a 90-degree angle. So line EF is perpendicular to line GH. Okay, and here are some examples of what looks parallel. And here's an example of what it looks like when it's perpendicular. Okay. Alright, next we'll do some examples together. So this is the end of part 1 of